What up, everybody? Savage Red Recovery here. About to do a live stream interview with my buddy Justin. And little backstory about Justin. Me and Justin work at the same place. And he's a good dude. He's short, but he's a good dude. And at the end of the day, this whole live stream and this channel is about at the end of the day, it's my opinions on stuff, but it's also about men improving themselves. And we're going to hear about Justin's story and what exactly where he was at and what he was doing. I'm going to bring Justin on right now. But before we do that, do me a favor. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get all the notifications. Show me some love and hit the like button. And let me know what you guys are thinking in the live chat. All right, here's Justin. What is up?
What's going on?
Oh, you see it, not too much.
So, what we getting into? What we talking about?
All right, so this channel is about male improvement, and I just want you to tell them your story about where you were, what got you to prison, what you were into, how many times that you bumped your head, and the things that you're doing now that's different.
And it's a story like every kid grows up in the city, in the street, born and raised in Cleveland. You know what I mean? Just getting into things really no good for you. You know what I mean? I mean, growing up in Cleveland, kids are real susceptible to their environment. You know what I mean? As you get older, you change your outlook, change the way you think about things, your priorities change. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I got into the street life. Priorities, you want to get that money. You want to do things that everybody else is doing. You know what I mean?
So did you have your dad in your life?
Growing up, I was with my mom. I didn't know my dad. She had husband, my stepdad, you know what I mean? But he wasn't real assertive in my life or anything like that. I met my dad when I was about 13. Moved in with him, but he wasn't assertive in my life. You know what I mean? He was there, but he wasn't there. He was like a ghost role. You know what I mean?
So you said that you got into the street life. At what age were you in the street? What age was the first time you started doing street stuff?
I think it's prepubescent, around like 11, 12. I'm running around, kids in the neighborhood, getting into things probably shouldn't have, you know what I mean? But it really, really turned up around about 13, 14. You know what I mean? I was trying to be older, trying to, hang out with the older kids, you know what I mean? 16, 17, 18. Started selling drugs, started carrying guns, started gang banging. You know what I mean? It's just one thing led to another, and it escalated. You know what I mean?
So what was the first time? How old were you when you first got arrested?
First time I got arrested, me and my mom had started butting heads. She kicked me out of the house. You know what I mean? Called the police on me, said I ran away, got arrested, got put on ankle monitor. I was about 11. Started getting arrested periodically after that. You know what I mean? Usually for small things, curfew, not being in school, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time, stuff like that. 18, I got arrested at 18 for a felonious assault and drug trafficking. I ended up going to prison. I did 2 years for that.
With your felonious assault, what exactly happened?
I got into a verbal altercation with someone. One one thing led to another. I ended up stabbed him in his neck. And, getting caught for that. Went to prison.
The people are. Is there any way that you can go where there's not so much wind? The wind's cutting out a lot of your voice. The people are saying.
Yeah, let me take it inside. How's that? Better?
Way better. I like your. I do like your fan though. That fan in your living room is pretty sweet.
Nah, that's a bedroom.
All right. Well, I had that same fan in my bedroom when I was a kid, but so you went to
it's a rental. It's a rental, man. I can't change the fan.
Bro, it happens, man. It happens. But so you went to prison for 2 years. All right. So while you were in prison, what exactly was your mindset? What prison did you end up going to? And not even that, but what did you like? What was your mindset in prison? And then what was your mindset when you got out of prison? State prison.
When I went to state prison, I was still a kid. Anybody says their first time in prison, their first time going to prison, that they weren't scared or they weren't nervous, you know what I mean? They're a liar. You know what I mean? It's a new situation. You're going somewhere you don't know everybody you're there with, and it's scary, man. You 18 years old, you know what I mean? I'm a kid. Been there with the big boys. But anyway, I ended up going to Belmont. Back then they called it Gladiator Camp. It was 2000.
Yeah, that was Gladiator Camp. Yep, that's a pretty fierce. It's pretty fierce time.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But I knew some guys down there, guys from the city. I was gangbanging, so I didn't have it as rough as other people had it. You feel me? It was rough, man. But at that age, I'm still 18 years old. It didn't really change my perspective much, being in prison. I was going to get the same thing I was doing before I went in. You know what I mean? I was young, I was dumb. I didn't really think about changing my life at that time. I got out and did the same thing, if not worse things. You know what I mean? I went in. So, that time didn't really wake me up.
So were you reading books that time?
Oh yeah, I read a lot. I don't read a lot of fantasy. You know what I mean? I read a lot of history books. You know what I mean? I read the Bible a lot. But financial books on real estate, finances. I read a lot.
But you still did dumb shit when you got out.
Absolutely. You gotta, man, to change your actions, you gotta change your mind. You know what I mean? You gotta change your thought processes. My thought process was still young. You know what I mean? I was still wanting to do everything I was doing before I went in.
So you went to Belmont Prison here in Ohio, because that's a state facility. So when you got out and you kept doing what you were doing, what ended up leading you to get to the feds? Like, what was the time period? How many years? And what exactly happened during that time period that got you caught up to go into the federal prison?
I got out. I think I got out in 2011. I got out of state. Like I said, I went back to doing everything I was doing before I went in, man. I was gangbanging. I was hustling. You know what I mean? At the time of my arrest, I was out for about 3 years. I walked off probation. You know what I mean? So I was scot free, and I was only scot free for about 2 months until I got locked up again. At the time I was selling cocaine. I was selling weed. I was selling ecstasy. I started selling guns. And that's what really brought the feds down on me is just selling firearms. At the time, they had a reverse sting operation going on in Cleveland, and they were just trying to get all the guns off the street that they could. They didn't care who they were locking up. You know what I mean? They were locking up crackheads with rusty 22s. You know what I mean? It's a real sweep of the city.
Now, why do you think the sweep of the city was so intense at that time period with the feds and the guns here in Cleveland?
You know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they chose that time to really go in and start, cleaning the city up. I mean, it might have had to do with, you know, I mean, Cleveland has like 900. I think they average about 900 shootings a year, and less than half of that are investigated. You know what I mean? So it might have just been, some politician with a heart on trying to, clean the streets up or something like that.
So the reason I asked that, it was kind of a leading question. Like, there's a lot of shootings here in Cleveland. Like Ravenna. Cleveland's kind of a rough city.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally, not even a week ago, somebody got killed right in front of my house, man. I was sitting here watching TV. Me and my girl were watching a movie, on Netflix. Uh, you hear a couple shots, look outside, dude's running down the street. Dude ran in the neighbor's yard, passed out, died, ended up dying, man.
Yeah. The crazy thing of it is, it's like I know the area that you live in, and like the part that I lived in was across from the zoo. Like if you're right there at Fulton, you go to Memphis, and instead of turning left or right, you go like kind of jog to the right a little bit and go straight and turn left in that first street. I lived over on Henritz, which is actually it was a good neighborhood. Like I didn't have any problems with crime right there, but it's surprising that there was actually a shooting over by you. It probably is because of the riots and the stuff going on, that there's unrest and stuff. That probably plays a role in it. But when I was over there, like there really wasn't any problems. So when you came down and got indicted, so tell me how that went. How did the feds kicking your door in, or they arresting you? How did all that go?
No, what happened was that I was introduced to some people through somebody I knew, which in hindsight, I think he got caught doing something, and he was working his time off. But
of course,
yeah, I got introduced to some guys that I guess undercovers. I don't know if they were undercover, or if they were confidential informants or whatnot. But I got introduced to these guys. I started dealing with them. One thing led to another. I sell them a couple guns here and there. They tried to get drugs involved in it, but I kind of skated away from that. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I don't know. But yeah, one thing led to another. They set up a deal. They wanted to buy. I had a Yugoslavian SKS and a couple other things that they were coming to buy. I get in the car with them. Next thing I know, I got the dude that set me up sitting right next to me with a 38 in his waist, and 380. And feds pull up, get surrounded. They stick a gun in the car, pull me out the car. There it is, man. I'm on an airplane going to Oklahoma City,
Okay, so this is the first time that you got arrested by the feds. So obviously, when you went to prison the first time, you were going to state prison, and that was new to you. Okay, so then this time when you went to the feds, you had already been to prison, but you hadn't been to the feds. So did you feel similar to the way you did when you went to state prison, or was it different because you'd already been conditioned somewhat to the prison life?
Yeah, it really wasn't that different. I got used to it, going to jail, going to prison, and it's kind of all the same until you actually get shipped off to your institution. Because in the feds, you're locked up with people all across the country, people from other countries. So it's very diverse. You know what I mean? I go down to this place. I mean, first they had me in Youngstown. I was down in Youngstown in the CCA.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much guys from. I mean, you got guys from different states, but it's pretty much Ohio. Some Pennsylvania, New York, stuff like that. Then they shipped me. I went down to West Virginia. I was in West Virginia in Beckley FCI, which is it's a medium high. So I wasn't in an actual penitentiary, but it still was. It was rough, but it's diverse, man, and it's weird, because being here in state prison, it's not
structured.
It's not really structured, and it's not racially divided. You know what I mean? You go to the feds, and everything's divided by gang or by race. You know what I mean? So I walk in the door, and I get surrounded by a bunch of white dudes that are like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "Cleveland." They said, "Oh, you're from Ohio? Yeah, we're gonna get you some soap and this and that." And I'm like, "Listen, dude, I'm GD. Where's the GDs at?" So they sent me to where the GDs at. You know, didn't even talk to me after that because it felt like I was a race trader or something, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't grow up like that. I know you didn't grow up like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't, you know, wasn't segregated. You know, all my friends were black or Latino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just, you know, after you, like, you know, it, the politics and the racial stuff is just to keep riots and people in line. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Like, there are some racists, but at the end of the day, it's to keep people safe, because if you don't have structure like that in the feds, shit pops off crazy. Now, before we get more into the feds, so did you end up taking a plea deal on your state case, or did you take it to trial?
No, on the state case, I took a plea. 2 years there was no chance of probation, nothing like that. You know what I mean? Judge was like, you're doing time. That's it. You know, there was no beating the case.
Yeah.
Plea deal for the 2 years. The federal case, basically the feds are like, listen, this is how much time you're gonna do. Plead guilty, or you know, we're gonna max you out. You know what I mean? There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know.
So when you ended up deciding to when you first went to the feds, like, tell me what it was like when they were booking you, and like when they took you, they arrested you, when you were going to court, like how was that? Like, what did you see? What was going on in the situation?
When I got arrested. I got pulled out of the car. You know, they searched you. They put me in a truck. I was shackled to the floor. You know, they got shackles on the floor. It ain't like being in a cop car. Cop car, you know, put handcuffs on you, put you in the back seat.
Yeah.
They drive me downtown. They took me to Cuyahoga County Jail. I sat there for a couple weeks until they moved me to Youngstown. Youngstown CCA. It was different. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Cuyahoga County. You had a little bit more freedom. You know, walk around and do all that. I sat there for a little while. It really, CCA wasn't that bad. I mean, people were really just hanging out. You know what I mean? Uh, Tell you not to talk about your case in there because, of course, with the federal government, you got people working. You know, people in there that they're not even criminals. They might be just undercover. They're sitting in there trying to build cases on people. You know. Um, I was there for a little while. I copped out. They moved me back to Cuyahoga County Jail. I had the state case that I had to cop out for. They ran it concurrent with my federal case, and then started shipping me around. Man, got on an airplane. They flew down to, I think, Georgia first. We went a couple other states. Went to Oklahoma City. I sat in Oklahoma City for 2-3 weeks, and shipped me down to West Virginia.
So, when you went to the Youngstown facility, was there like any signs or anything that you seen that like was a surprise to you, that was different than being in the state? Like, was there anything that stuck out to you as a whole when you first went to the feds and you were in, I would consider it booking or holding or however it is when you first get there? Was there anything that you saw that was like shocked you?
I mean, not really. It's all pretty uniform. You know, when you get booked into one jail or booked into another, it pretty much seems the same. The scenery is different, but everything's pretty much the same.
I'm mainly talking about the signs that say "Why do 10 when you can give it to a friend?" I'm talking about those type of signs.
Oh yeah, those are everywhere. All the trying to get you to tell on people, you know, all that.
All right. And so when you ended up taking your plea deal and copping out, how much time were you given for the Fed case?
For the Fed case, 63 months. It's 5 years and 3 months.
Okay.
Case, which is they do your sentencing by guidelines. So if you commit a certain crime, that gives you a certain amount of points. If you have prior crimes in your history, that gives you a certain amount of points. And it all just adds up and stacks up together, which, I mean, a lot of it is just like enhancements for little things that you might do, you know, with anything leading up to your arrest, you know what I mean? So if you were on probation, that gives you 2 points. It enhances you 2 points, which might give you an extra year or two on your sentence. You know what I mean? It's definitely different because the judge in a federal case really doesn't have discretion on how much time he's going to give you. You know, it's all by guideline sentences. Now, really, the only way you get out of your guideline sentence in the feds is telling on somebody. You know, that's
Well, I'm assuming that's they do that so that you tell. Like I'm assuming like they make it suck. So the only way to not suck is to tell
Absolutely.
and suck less.
Or I mean, or if you got a big ass bank account and you can give them a bunch of money. Yeah.
Or tell, or pay and tell.
Absolutely. I mean, really like a extortion ring, really.
Yeah. So when you were did you spend all your time in one prison when you ended up making it to the actual penitentiary that you went to, not Youngstown, when you made it to Oklahoma City? How long were you at Oklahoma City, or did you get transferred around?
I was in Oklahoma City, basically like you know how Lorraine is here. It's a reception, you know.
Okay.
And you sit there until they send you to your parent institution. I was in West Virginia for about 4 years, you know, with all the time served sitting in county and, you know, Oklahoma City and stuff like that. I did about 4 years in West Virginia, and then I had 5 months halfway house. They give you halfway house time in the feds. Had 5 months halfway house, you know, got out and started working in the halfway house.
So when you went to prison, what exactly in the feds changed compared to when you were in state? Like mentally, what was your mindset? What was going on in your head that, like, when did your I'm not going to keep doing dumb shit start happening? Like what time was that?
Really, when I'm sitting in Youngstown and I see all these guys coming in there, man, and you see guys coming in there with conspiracies, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. They're looking at 35, 40 years, you know, lifetime sentences. You know what I mean? That really gets you thinking, like, there's no way, man. I can't spend it. I'm not about to be one of these guys 60 years old with 20 more years on my sentence. Like, it really woke me up, man. It really woke me up. Definitely going down when I got down to West Virginia. I'm sitting down there, and you got guys that are down there 18 years old with 45 years, you know, and it really wakes you up. It really does. I mean,
now, any of the people that you saw that was down there that was 18 years old and was doing 45 years, or the people you were seeing hit with conspiracy, did you see any people that wasn't necessarily doing anything? They were just affiliated or associated, and they end up getting hit with the conspiracy case that wasn't necessary. It was just kind of, we're going to hit motherfuckers with conspiracy. So you're going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing that's different between the state and the federal government, the state government has to have evidence. You know what I mean? They have to directly link you, have you on camera, you know, something. They have to have some type of evidence to put you in some type of criminal racketeering or conspiracy case. Now, the federal government can go, well, we got your phone number in this guy's phone, this date, and we know you sell cocaine, so we're just going to add you in on the conspiracy. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, man. It's crazy because they don't have to catch you with anything. They don't have to catch you with drugs. They don't have to catch you with money. You know what I mean? They can lock you up, and it's up to you. You got to fight it, you know. And they got a 98% conviction rate. So go ahead and try it if you want.
So is that when you started seeing those things? Is that what started to show you, like, I'm not about this anymore because this isn't worth it? If I don't even have to be caught doing anything, I'm just not gonna play the game.
I mean, that definitely plays a part. Definitely plays a part, you know. But I mean, like I said, you know, your actions start in the mind first. You know what I mean? Like, you have to change the way you think to change what you do. I'm sitting here, like I said, I mean, the game's rigged. You can't win. You know what I mean? You watch these narco movies or, movies like where everybody's selling drugs and got all this money and the guy gets away. You're not getting away. You're not getting away, man. The game's rigged, you know.
So what exactly were you reading? Like what were you doing differently in the feds that you were doing in the state prison?
I mean, when I went to the feds, man, I already had it in my mind, that I had to change what I was doing. I had to change my thought process. I had to change my life. I did everything I could when I went down there. The prison I was in, they had a bunch of programs, educational programs. You could take college classes from accredited colleges. You can get licenses. You can get, basically anything you want. You know what I mean? I had to make that decision. I used my time to give myself any tool that I could use once I get out to make a difference, to change what I got going on. You know what I mean? I can't do it. Like I said, I can't do it, man. I can't be that guy 60 years old and in prison. It's not worth it. You sit there just basically wasting time, man. You're wasting time.
So what was some of the stuff that you took advantage of? Like what programs did you decide to participate in the feds?
I took college classes. They had classes for marketing, accounting, stuff like that. I took that. I took an HVAC class. I got certified for high pressure, low pressure. They had an electrical class. I took the electrical class and got certified to work as an apprentice in the state of West Virginia doing residential wiring. They got a forklift class. I took a forklift class. I took pretty much anything that they would allow me to take. I took.
So you're inside the feds. You're seeing all these people like spend most of their life or all their life locked away. You start taking these classes. Tell me exactly how your transition was when you went to the halfway house and what you started doing as soon as you hit the ground.
I went. I mean, I was preparing myself. You know what I mean? I definitely had to prepare myself for release. A lot of people say they're scared of getting out because they've done so much time. They just don't know what to do. But I already had a plan in my mind. You know what I mean? I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do, but I knew I was gonna do something. You can't get out here and hope everything's gonna be the best. You have to do something. You have to make it yourself to make that change. Anyway, I already had it in my mind that I was going to succeed, that I was going to do something, that I was going to work my ass off and do whatever I had to do. I get to the halfway house, I start talking to guys. One of my buddies hooked me up with a job, really, to doing fiberglass when I got out. So as soon as I touched the ground, I already had a job. I met somebody in the halfway house. That story. Got me into doing electrical work, and one thing led to another, and I'm still doing it. I'm trying to get in school. Ultimately, I'd like to get back into college. Complete my degree. Man, just
so now. So I'm assuming because when you were a criminal, and prior to going to prison either time or around the first time, I'm assuming you really weren't that far into politics.
No, I wasn't.
So when did you start becoming more into politics?
I would say after going to the feds, you know what I mean? Really opens your eyes, man. It really opens your eyes. I started reading political books, started watching the news a lot. You know what I mean? I'll tell you one thing. I started reading some books that really had me going, really opened my mind, man. None Dare Call It Conspiracy was one of them. I read that, and it really blew my mind. Stuff that goes on in the world that people really don't think about. because it doesn't affect your daily life. At least you don't think it does. You know, uh, it's crazy, man. Politics is a crazy world. But yeah, I started getting into it when I was in the feds, and still deep into politics now. I still, listen to podcasts, watch the news. You know what I mean?
So, who are you supporting come 2020?
2020,
This year.
it's Donald Trump all day, man. Donald Trump all day.
Shout out to Trump. So, since you've been to prison, you've been to the feds, you've been to the state, you're a Trump supporter. You've had run-ins with the law. What is your take on what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the riots and the fire burnings and all that stuff? Like, there was just last night another guy got killed by the police. Did you see that in Atlanta?
No, I didn't see that one. I don't think.
So, guy got a DUI. The police were trying to arrest him. He was wrestling with them, fighting with them. The guy pulled a taser from the cop, ran from the cop, shot at the cops with the taser. They lit him up, and then they burned down the Wendy's. Like, the people just started rioting and burning down stuff in Atlanta. So, what is your take? Well, with the looting and the robbing and the killing and all the stuff that's going on with this movement, since it's about police brutality, and as you've said, you've ranched with the police a few times.
See, the whole scenario is difficult, because there is police corruption. You know what I mean? Police do bad things. They say that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
They got the power to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Who's going to believe you over them? Especially if, you got a record. You don't have a top-notch attorney. You know what I mean? You don't have the money to buy an attorney. They can do whatever they want. But at the same time, yes, Black Lives Matter. Okay. That's a fact, because all lives matter. It's not because you're black that you matter. It's not because I'm white that I matter. It's because you're alive. You're an American citizen. You know what I mean? No one has the right to kill anybody for any reason. You know what I mean? That's a cop arresting you and killing you it's an injustice, no matter your skin tone. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I agree that things need to change. I don't agree that lighting a Wendy's on fire is the way to make change. It just it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you're angry. Why are you lighting a Wendy's on fire?
What do Wendy's do to you? Like, I didn't see Wendy's out there just killing people, but selling unhealthy food for a lifetime will kill you. So maybe that's why they're doing it. But so how long have you been out of the feds? Like, how long you been out
of the feds? A little over a year.
Okay. And since you've hit the halfway house, what exactly are things like? What did you have when you got out of the halfway house, and what do you have now? Like, what have you done, like, to further your life compared to prior, when the first time you got out of prison? Like, what's different?
What did I have? I got out of the feds. I didn't have nothing. I mean, literally, I didn't have a pair of socks.
So you didn't cash in your white privilege then? You didn't cash in all that white privilege to come out of prison with stuff?
No. I didn't know I had it. I mean, I guess I can see how some people would perceive, somebody having some type of privilege. I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, I'm not black. I'm not Hispanic, so I can't say I know how they feel. You know what I mean? Going into a situation, you know what I mean? I've never felt like I've been turned down for a job opportunity because of my skin tone. So,
have you been turned down from a job because of your record?
Absolutely.
Okay. So even though you have a record and you're white, you still get turned down for jobs because of your record?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, when you hit the street, you had nothing. So what exactly when you started working, what was some of the stuff that you started to do with with your money? What, like, tell me exactly what your thought process was to get from no socks to what looks to be a lovely apartment from the wall that I can see.
uh, Man, I started working. I went and bought a vehicle. I mean, my first day out the halfway house, I went to the car lot. I got a car. Um,
Now, how
I
are you
like
able to get a car first day out? What exactly? How is that possible?
I saved money. I had to save my money, man. I mean, I did literally. I didn't go clothes shopping for about 9 months. I didn't go buy clothes for 9 months. You know, a couple of my homies gave me some clothes. My uncle gave me a couple things to wear. Uh, I didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't care what I looked like. I was working, saving my money. You know what I mean?
So what you're telling me is so you were working and had money coming in, and instead of going and buying clothes to look good for the broads that you seen when you got out of the halfway house or when you were rolling around town to go to work, you sacrificed being able to look good, and you will look like a bum for months to be able to buy a
Absolutely.
car because that was the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So after you get your car, what exactly do you do? After you do all this sacrificing, look like a bum, and then you buy a brand new car and you still look like a bum, what'd you do?
I kept working, man. I kept working. Like I said, I met somebody who got me into doing the electrical work. I met you guys, you know, um, just kept saving money, you know,
So when you
that's
moved out
all
of
I
the
really
halfway
could do.
when you moved out of the halfway house, where did you end up landing after you were done doing your halfway house time?
After I got out the halfway house, I ended up in Burbank, Ohio with my family. I stayed out there for a few months. Uh, I just moved back. I'm back in Cleveland. I moved back to Cleveland about 4 months ago. But the whole time I'm just working, trying to save money, working, trying to save money. I mean, of course, I bought a little bit things here and there for myself, but you gotta have priorities, man. You gotta have priorities. I'm not out here. I don't need a Gucci belt. You know what I mean? I didn't take my stimulus check and go buy a $400 pair of shoes. I mean, I like my shoes, but you know,
You do like your shoes. I'm not gonna lie, you do like shoes.
it's a fact.
So so how long did you live with your family?
I was out in Burbank maybe 9 months.
And now, what was the reason for you moving in with your family?
I was financially unstable. You know, I couldn't go. I couldn't afford to go get an apartment by myself or you know do something like that. Just getting out of prison.
So you just get out of prison, you got a job doing fiberglass, which I'm assuming was hot and sucked. You sacrificed buying clothes and looking good and getting hose to buy a car, and then you were still broke and still white and still couldn't afford to get a place, so you had to move in with your family. So at no point, like when you went and got a car at the dealership with all the money that you'd saved for months, someone didn't just pop out and say, "Okay, you're white, you got a car. We're gonna we're gonna show you where that privilege takes you now."
Nah,
That didn't happen.
nah.
No. Okay. Um. So you start working, you save up some money. Now, prior to you going to prison, I'm assuming that you had a lot of like you were probably doing street shit like fucking chicks and hanging out with broads and just being a hoe, like we do. So, are you still being a hoe? Are you like when you got out of prison? Was women your main priority? Were you still out here trying to bag everything that walked, or what? What exactly did you start doing?
I mean, it wasn't my main priority. I mean, of course, I'm a man. I like women. I mean,
Hmm.
that just comes with it for
Hmm.
most of us anyway. But yeah, I mean,
Some don't.
it would right. It wasn't my main priority though. You know what I mean? My main priority was focusing on myself. I can't. I can't focus on myself if I'm focusing on other people, what other people think, what other people want from me. You know what I mean? I had to ask myself what I want for myself, where I want to be. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm in a relationship. Um, like I said, I've been out the feds for about a little over a year, probably about a year and 3 months, year and 4 months, something like that. Uh, I just had a 1 year anniversary with the girl I'm with now, you know, which is, she's an amazing woman, you know, supportive.
She is. I can stand by that. She is actually from when I've met her, she's a pretty decent woman, and there happens not to be many of those out here these days.
Absolutely, man. And a lot, you know, that's got to do with a lot of things, man. You can't have a trash bucket beside you and expect to do good. Like it's not gonna happen, you know.
Yeah, it's like trying to run. It's like trying to swim across the. It's trying to like swim in the Mediterranean through the canal with like 200 pounds of rocks around your neck. You're not going to make it very far.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, they say birds of a feather, you know, birds of a feather flock together. So, I mean,
they also say, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you who you are."
exactly.
Since you've been working and you've been saving your money and you've been slowly increasing the gains of your life. So since you said that you had to take care of yourself, I'm pretty sure you're saying like, hey, I'm investing in myself first. What have you started doing with your money to better your life besides material things? Like, what are some of the stuff you've been doing?
Um, you know, I put money in the market. I started doing stocks here and there. Made a little bit of money. I didn't make a lot. You know what I mean? I'm not putting 100,000 in the market, but you know, I'm saving, man. You know, I got annuities. I got I'm starting to do these eBay sales, and that brings in a little bit. And I want to expand on that. Start getting more product. You know what I mean? Selling stuff on eBay, Macari, things like that. But yeah, man, I mean, you got to make your money work for you. You know, you go and spend it all, you're gonna be broke your whole life.
So what you're saying is, instead of getting stuff that you want, you take time to get what you need, and then to put your money in places that don't give you a return or a good feeling right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, eventually, I'd like to get into real estate, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, man, you gotta
And
invest. You gotta invest in yourself. Invest in your future.
exactly how old are you, Justin?
29.
You're 29. You just turned 29?
Yeah, turned 29 March.
That's right. I turned 31 in March. Yeah. So as of right now, when you started working at that first job you got, was it a super high paying job?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
All
not.
right. Now the job that you have as an electrician, is it super high paying?
Not right now. It's not.
But you're able to live.
I can live. I mean, I make enough money to survive. You know, make enough money to save a little bit. You know, pay my bills. But I mean, it all comes in time. You know, you're literally you're investing your time and you're learning something. You know, you're learning a trade. So the money comes in time. I don't expect to jump in and make $40 an hour right now. You know what I mean? It's something that I just started doing.
Okay, so when you get out of prison and you knew you needed a job, you were willing to take any job. It didn't
Any
matter.
job,
Like
any job.
you just needed a job. You were humble enough to take whatever job that you could take, and that's what it was.
Absolutely.
And you're humble enough now to not make as much money as some of the guys the guys that have gone through the apprenticeship and are now wiremen, they're journeymen. Those guys make $40 an hour, and you don't make $40 an hour, do you?
No, hell no.
But you're okay with what you make because you hope to one day make $40, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
You know,
now
they say all good things come in time. Man. Good things come in time.
all good things come to those who wait also.
Yeah.
So what is your now that you've been out of the feds for a year and a half, we'll say that time period, what is your like next year, like what's your goals for the next year, or what's your goals for the next 5 years? Like what are the plans and goals that you have set in your mind right now?
You know, they say man makes plans and God laughs. So, I mean, I'd like to get into this apprenticeship, you know, further my career in the electrical industry, make more money, of course. But I'd like to buy a house, you know, become financially secure is my main goal. Now, this might not be my only path to do that. I might choose to do other things, you know, like I said, with my eBay sales or starting my own business, small business. But I mean, that's just my path, man. My path is growth, you know, my path is growth. Just better myself, you know, better my surroundings, better the people around me, you know. Uh, that's about it.
So,
I don't expect to be a multimillionaire in the next 5 years, but you know.
so your idea coming out of federal prison and having a record and having a humble job, all right, your plan is to be an entrepreneur. Even though you have a full-time job, you plan on taking your money and making a small business so that you can make money for yourself.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
I mean, you can work your whole life to make someone else rich, but you know, you work for yourself, you might make yourself rich. A 9 to 5 is not it's not a bad thing to have. You know what I mean? It's not dishonorable to have a job, but at the same time, if I can start my own business, if I can do something for myself to make my own money, I mean that's priceless. You know what I mean? Because then you're not worried about how much this guy's going to pay me. You can make as much as you want to make, as much as you're willing, as much work as you're willing to put in is what you can get out.
Okay. So what you're saying pretty much is if you want more out of life than being an entrepreneur, you're able to make that happen for yourself. You're not begging for something for someone else or expecting something that you might not necessarily deserve.
Absolutely. How many millionaires do you know that became millionaires working for somebody else?
I can't think of one.
How many of those billionaires out there that are on TV all the time trying to give you financial advice, give you the advice to go work at Family Dollar?
Never
seen it. It's not the advice that they're trying to give you, you know?
So like that's exactly why I started this YouTube channel. Because even though I don't see myself being able to make a living off of this anytime soon, or even make money off this anytime soon, I still feel that taking the money and investing it, if I put content out there, like guys like you, guys like me that have done stupid shit and fucked up our lives, and then I can showcase what we did and what we're doing differently and how that affected our lives, and that can help somebody. I feel like that's more beneficial in the short term and the long term than just, you know, having some extra money or whatnot. But like, is there any hobbies besides your eBay store that you have a hobby, you have a passion for, that you're trying to make into a business? Or is there anything other than your eBay store that you're trying to do to maybe make into a business?
No, nothing right now. Nothing right now. I don't really have too many hobbies, but
I know that feeling.
That's it.
Yeah. So, like I literally, like I bought this Canon camera, and I bought this for YouTube because right now I'm using a webcam. It's actually a pretty good picture for this webcam, but this camera has a better view, and I'm waiting to get a cam link. Cam links are normally like $129, and I can use that to live stream and use my Canon camera as a webcam. But because of the pandemic, those people are price gouging those, and those are like $400, and they're usually like $129, and I like refuse to pay 3 times as much for something that's not worth 3 times as much. So I started doing photography. So I've been going out and taking photos and uploading those to Instagram, and I'm taking photos and making them into merchandise that can get down my YouTube channel. And the reason I did that is because like right now I spent money on this camera, and now this camera is just sitting here, and I can't get the thing I need to be able to use it for what I wanted to. So I'm taking photos with the hopes of getting better to maybe be able to make money just off the camera, not just let it sit around. And the only reason I bring that up is because I didn't mean to buy that to take photos. I just want to take videos of it and upload them. But because I can't, I'm going to try to do something else with it to make money out of it. And like, that's like, instead of being like a stick in the mud and spend some money and just letting it sit here until I can get my Elgato, I figure I'll do something different. But is there any any topics that you want to bring up or you want to talk about, or is there any last words that you want to give to anyone out there, or is there anything in your story that you didn't bring up that you would like to talk about, or is there stuff in the news, or like, is there any topics that you would like to speak on?
I mean, I really have anything offhand. But I mean, if you have something you want to bring up,
it's not necessarily that I have anything offhand. It's just I figured that you pretty much told your story. I know you got people coming over in like an hour, so I figured that we could probably end this interview pretty quickly. We're running at about 51 minutes. So if there was anything that you wanted to bring up, or any words of encouragement you want to give to anyone, or if you want anything on the top of your head that you wanted to say.
I really, man. I mean,
well,
it's all about you. I mean, it's all about you. You want to change your life.
Well, I really do appreciate you letting me do an interview with you on the channel, and I do want to say thank you for being such a good friend at work and whatnot. And I do think it's fun. Like, I still think from time to time about that time that that foreman was talking about. Yeah, we need to stop hiring criminals and people just out of prison. And you were like, yeah, that's me. Well, violent crime. Yeah, me.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate your time, man. If you go to Savage Red Recovery, you can go and see this interview and watch yourself and critique yourself on this interview, or let your girl see it, because I don't know if your girl's home or if she's lurking in the corner watching you talk to your phone. But I do appreciate it, man. Any last words?
Yeah, man. Stay up, keep doing what you're doing. Hey, man, one of these days you might blow up.
Maybe.
You might blow up. Maybe.
I live in Cleveland. It could happen. I could get blown up tonight. Who knows?
You could. I mean, I hope you don't have a Trump sticker on your truck.
I don't.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Definitely not. All right, but man. I will talk to you later, my man.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right, guys. So that was my dude, Justin. And that was what he was doing with his life and his life story, and where he was at, and how he got to where he was at now. And that man is a good dude. I've worked with that dude for months. I've known that dude since last year, and I can honestly tell you that he has a good head on his shoulders, and he's doing the right stuff. And much like me, when he got out of prison and came and started working for us, I let him know about my story and about me being sober for 5 years, and I gave him some encouragement, or shot him a little bit of advice, not saying that he needed it, but I gave him my opinion on some certain things and certain ways to move. And he taught me a lot of stuff, like when it came to investing and when it came into like Robinhood. He's the one that showed me about like Robinhood and investing in the market. And like, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have been investing in the market like I have been the last year. But it depends on what part of Cleveland you live in. Like I live in the hood, and I pay $450 for a 2-bedroom. It just depends on what part of Cleveland you're in. I lived in an apartment on the west side of Cleveland that was like $550, and it was in a better neighborhood. It really just comes down to where you're at. But guys, this is Savage Red Recovery. This is a channel about improving men's lives and bettering yourself and not doing stupid stuff and eventually growing up. I do appreciate everyone's support and everyone's time. I will see you guys next time. Before you guys get out of this stream, make sure that you subscribe if you're not subscribed, and share this video to someone else. Get the word out there. Help me with the algorithms. If there's a man that needs someone that just got out of prison or keeps committing crimes and doing stupid stuff, or someone's down on their luck, send them this video and let them know that being down on your luck is temporary. What you do next is what's the most important thing. With that, guys, much love. Peace.